We just changed the way we present housing data for Orange County, LA, Riverside, and we found a disturbing trend for buyers. We can't wait to share with you. Hey there, Christian Walsh, Coldwell Banker, Wire Associates. We are real estate brokers based in Southern California who help buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords during these crazy days in California and beyond. And we are here with another one of our updates. We've been doing these housing market updates for Los Angeles, Orange County real estate market updates, Riverside market updates. Every 2 weeks since the start of the pandemic, we've been diving into the data, and we have a big update for you. We changed the way we present the data, and we found a crazy trend that buyers absolutely have to see in a couple of counties here locally. We're also going to go through the median home prices in several local counties. They were flat. Where did they head since then? We're going to go through the boring foreclosure data, and we'll explain why it's boring. And then we're also going to talk about the #1 thing to be keeping an eye on in the real estate market 2021. By the way, if you want the most up-to-date real estate market data for Southern California, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Are you ready to dive into the numbers? If you're ready, hit that like button and let's get started. We can't wait to show you the upgrade we did. So we've upgraded how we're sharing the data. And in doing that, we also found an unbelievable trend that we can't wait to share with you. So like we always do, let's get started with single family data. And let me get out of the way so that you can actually see it. We're excited to share the data here in this format. And don't forget that our email subscribers, of course, get this data and can play with it and see. So what we have is our usual. We are now looking at year-over-year numbers for Orange County single-family home sales. And this is for the month of February. So we're rehashing February. And there is a crazy, crazy trend. So if you look at the data, you see we've got in yellow is sold. White is in escrow, under contract. Those are homes that are going to sell. And then new listings is in red. And you see that trend going back 2017, 2018. You see how the data is stacked like this. What do you see in 2021? The stack is broken. Not only do you basically have sold that have gone through the roof, and those were past escrows, of course, and we knew that those would be high, but we also have record low new listings and record high pendings. And here's what we found when we look at this data another way. This is absolutely frightening. Look at this. So our curves for new listings in escrow have crossed. That is not good. At least that's not good for buyers. This is amazing, amazing news for sellers. This means that there is nowhere near enough inventory, and this is why we're seeing so many darn offers being written on properties and values going through the roof. This is in the data. You can see it right here. So a few trends to see. You can see obviously the sold have gone up, and that's no surprise. We've had escrows up for a while. The real surprise here is comparing new listings to escrows. They have now flopped, and there's definitely not enough inventory. Moving on to LA, and we have that same trend. You see that line every year up until this year, and it's slightly different. You still have the record number of sales. You still have new listings coming, not a record low. You definitely have record pending sales, but the curve hasn't flipped on this one. So LA is definitely a hot market, a lot of sales going on, but it's not like Orange County, not as hot as Orange County. Now let's see Riverside. Riverside is the same thing as Orange County, but even more extreme. So you got the lines like this. Those are traditionally how the market goes. You have more listings and sales. That's just the way it is until you get to 2021, until you get to February, and it's flipped. And let's take a look at the line graph to see. It is a crazy, crazy cross there where you can see how closely things were trending and all of a sudden they flipped. So this is an even more extreme seller's market. So one more important point on this, this is based on the entire countywide data. What we're gonna do, we're not gonna do it in this video, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into different price points to see where things shake out at the different price points. My theory, and I will prove it or disprove it, is that under $1 million, you're going to see even crazier crossover. And obviously the higher price points, it may not cross over. But right now in Orange County and Riverside, it is a crazy, crazy seller's market. When we say this is the best time to sell your home, this is why. Look at the data and this is why. And we're moving on to multifamily, and we see that same trend happening in OC multifamily that we saw in OC single family. You got the lines going across, a lot more new listings than escrows and sales, but things flopped in February, and I can attest to this. Suddenly inventory dried up in the market, and it's easy to see it right here. And here's how it plays out when we look at the line graph. We see that cross again, like we saw in OC single family. So this means this is a great time for sellers of multifamily. So during most of 2020 after COVID, we didn't have these crazy sales numbers. Well, we're here for multifamily in Orange County. LA is, again, like the single family market. It's a much bigger market for single family and multifamily in LA. It's physically a larger place. So same thing, we don't have a flop in this case. LA is still a hot market to buy. As you can see, the pending sales are way up. Those properties under contract are at a record high. Listings are low, but not a record low. So this is still a hot market to buy, but LA's eviction moratorium does make it more difficult for landlords to do anything about a tenant not paying rent due to COVID-19. So that could be part of why we're seeing this trend in LA. And Riverside, just like we saw with single family, we also have a flop of the curve. And there it is. You can see very similar trend. So single family and multifamily in Riverside have definitely flopped to an extreme seller's market. It's right here in the data. One other important point about the data is this is almost the very end of the data that's pre-COVID for 2020. Once we get further in March, April, May, the data is going to look very funky year over year. But this is one of the last reports we're going to do where the year over year data will be unaffected by COVID for the most part. As for foreclosure data, there's just not much going on with foreclosures. Forbearance keeps being pushed. It's now going to be 18 months for Fannie and Freddie backed loans. So foreclosures are not happening, and this shows you right here. 2015 on down to today, there's just not much going on. Very small numbers. Like I said, our email subscribers, they'll be able to see these and see the exact numbers, but it's been a dramatic drop. So these are the homes that have gone back to the bank. And you can see I got 2011 there, but 2011, it doesn't have any data. I'm going to show you why. Here's with 2011. Boom. It completely messes up the scale. You can see that there was a very dramatic drop. 2011, we obviously still had plenty of foreclosures and plenty of properties going back to the bank from the bust, and those ruined my scale. I mean, these are big, big numbers. For LA, you can see it was over 18,000, almost 19,000 in 2011 properties went back to the bank, and it's continued to drop. We are behind, and part of the reason I'm looking at these annual numbers is a couple things. Two is see how far behind we are and see if maybe that would help with inventory. And it might, but it's not going to help that much. I mean, we're off by maybe 100 or two, and that's not going to make a big difference annually in some of these marketplaces. But the other thing is we need to track, is we need to see. So if 2020 is way down and then 2021 is also way down, we're adding to the number of foreclosures that we would have in any normal market. So in any normal market, there will be foreclosures, but if we're not foreclosing, we're getting behind. So it could be a case where we end up having, once the forbearance is over, a little bit of a wave. So we're gonna kind of keep tracking the annual numbers in particular. But other than that, there's really not much to see in foreclosures right now. And let's not forget about our median home price chart, so that we can track where median home prices have gone for Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside, and San Diego. And there's no surprise, based on what we showed you and the crazy low inventory, those values have gone up. So this is basically going back to 2008. This is a long stretch, and you can see that it's continued to trend up, goes up and down and up and down, but the overall trend has been up. We saw that it flattened out around the holidays, and I was reporting on that. But then boom, from January, Orange County, for example, January, we're at 786,500, and it shoots up to over 800,000. So almost a $50,000 increase in median home price from January to February in 2021. That is a big, big increase, and very good for sellers. For buyers, not so much. And we see a similar trend all throughout the median home price. So very, very good for sellers, not good for buyers. There are a lot of things to be watching in the real estate market 2021, and we've been tracking some of these things, and we'll continue to discuss them. But by the end of this, we're going to discuss the #1 thing to watch. But first, vaccinations are obviously a big deal, getting those rolled out. Getting through the K-shaped recovery, and by K-shaped we mean at the top people are doing well, but at the bottom people are not. So we need to get those to converge. There's more talk of a stimulus package that's going to help extend things that run out here in the middle of March. There's talks of potentially inflation. Just today they were discussing the possibility that inflation is rearing its ugly head and interest rates will have to go up. Two other big things are non-payment of rent due to COVID-19, so landlords and tenants are suffering. There's the CDC eviction moratorium for the nation. California has SB 91, and we have tons of content on that. That currently runs through the end of June. Will that be extended? We will see. And of course, there's the non-payment of mortgages. And as we mentioned, forbearance keeps being pushed. When will we pay the piper on all these folks who are not able to pay their mortgages? They're still at a fraction of non-payment as compared to the previous bust, but at some point in time, we are going to have to pay the piper. In the real estate market right now, the #1 thing that's affecting it is lack of inventory. And this is leading to a crazy frenzy out there, and it's looking a little bubblish. We're going to release some more content describing the problems out there, but you could see it in the data we shared, that there aren't enough listings, and there's more pending sales sucking up any listings that come. So this is leading to crazy bidding wars and crazy offers well over list price. This is a very dangerous market for a buyer, but absolutely the best market for a seller. So we're going to keep tracking the lack of inventory and what that means for the market. This doesn't mean every single market. There are some places, for example, locally, LA is not quite as much of a frenzy as Orange County and Riverside. And that doesn't mean every price point is the same either. So it's important. If you are a buyer and you're out there looking, don't necessarily give up hope. You just need to make sure in your area, whether it's in Southern California, California, or beyond, make sure you look at the data to see how things are in your local market at the price point that you are searching. And we'll get you some more content covering this. We appreciate you tuning in during these crazy days, and we're here to help. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter so you can get access to the data and the median home price charts. There's a lot of content in there. We also cover topics for landlords and tenants and other stuff for buyers and sellers. So make sure you subscribe. There's a link below. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, this is the place for the most honest and up-to-date information for tenants and landlords and buyers and sellers. We sincerely appreciate you tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, Coldwell Banker Wire Associates, and we appreciate you.